Hey, welcome to FilmSauce. I'm FilmSauce, and in this Saucy video, I'm looking at Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, released in 1984 as a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Steven Spielberg returned to direct, with a script written by Gloria Katz and Willard Huyck. This film is noticeably a lot darker. Hell, this combined with the release of Gremlins is the reason the PG-13 rating is a thing. And this darker tone is often thought to be because Lucas and Spielberg had breakups, and that darker tone made this film a bit of a black sheep of the family, till I guess the fourth and fifth movie released. In Temple of Doom, we have Indiana Jones before the events of Raiders in India, where he is tasked with finding an ancient stone that has been stolen by a priest. Now eat some monkey brains and relax to FilmSauce Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. This film opens in 1935 in this Shanghai nightclub, where we watch this character Willie Scott do some singing. Willie Scott is played by Kate Capshaw, who actually ended up marrying director Steven Spielberg in 1991, and they've stayed together since. But please, who cares about the art of song and dance? Because we're here to watch Harrison Ford reprise his role as Indiana Jones. He's currently in a meeting to trade some artifact. But this deal goes a bit sour, probably due to the gun pointed at Indy, who takes Willie as a hostage and begins bargaining for a diamond. And hey, he got the diamond. Cheers. Indy now gives over the artifact as everyone gets what they want, and they all peacefully leave. Hooray! Never mind. That drink Indy chugged down is poisoned, and this man, Lao Che, has the antidote. Lao Che was played by Roy Chow, who was bloody called the Lion of Cinema because of how buff he was. But sadly, Roy Chow did pass away back in 1999. Rest in peace. Indy has a trick up his sleeve, with his pal Wuhan aiming a gun at Lao. But with the sound of bottles popping, Wuhan is shot dead. And damn man, I only know this man for a few seconds and I feel sad. Indy now tumbles around, grabs this big burning kebab, and throws it into this guy's chest. Holy shit, that's sick. There is now a brawl in the club with both parties fighting over the diamond and the antidote. And just, why did Indy punch this poor woman? Indy does some stumbling around for the antidote when Lao Che's backup arrives, with an army of balloons that would make Pennywise cream. Indy hides behind a rolling gong, grabs Willie, falls into the street, getting picked up by the best new character in this film, Short Round, played by Ki Hua Kwan, whose younger brother actually auditioned for the role, and Kwan just tagged along, coaching him, and the casting director saw him and asked if he wanted to try. A few weeks later, Kay was in Sri Lanka. The heroes leave the Obi-Wan bar, wonder what that's referencing, and Indy chugs down the antidote. Now, after a short car chase, the heroes get on a plane, and thankfully Lao Che can't hurt them.
Nice try, Lao Che!
The heroes just chill on the plane as it takes them over India, but since the pilots work for Lao Che, they sabotage the plane and parachute out. Willie wakes up finding the plane unmanned. One woman, she wakes up Indy, who tries to fly the plane, but he is as good a flyer as a drunk dad's son flying out the car window. Indy rummages around, finds a lifeboat, which causes Willie to say one of my favourite lines from the whole franchise. I just love the delivery. Indy now inflates the lifeboat, grabs Short Round and Willie, and they leap, softly landing on the snow. The boat now slides down the mountain, then off a chasm into a river. The trio are now just slowly going down the river when they are found by some guy who leads them to his village, and the villagers begin hailing the heroes like gods. Indy now talks to the shaman, find a way to Delhi, but the shaman tells Indy to go to Pankot Palace because there is evil spreading from there, and some guys from there stole their sacred stone. It's actually kind of funny to think the actor who betrayed the shaman, D.R. Nanakara, didn't speak any English and had to mimic Spielberg, who was prompting him off camera. Indy is now shown where the stone was stolen from, and they talk about how since the stone was stolen, the village was diminished, and the village children were just stolen. But whoever kidnapped the children ain't doing well at keeping them hostage, as this kid returns from the evil palace, gives Indy some pictograph that helps Indy figure out the village's stone is one of the lost Sankara stones. The heroes now go on some elephants to go to Pankot Palace, and the trip is full of Willie complaining. And yeah, I think the majority of people dislike this character. Hell, even Kate Capshaw was critical of Willie, saying she was nothing more than a screaming blonde. The heroes and Willie decide to camp, and while Willie is going through the horrors of Jumanji, Indy explains the law of the Sankara stones, and Willie does some chilling with a snake. And apparently in real life, the snake and its mate wasn't very well welcomed in Sri Lanka. The animal handler, Michael Cullen, booked the snakes a hotel room under fake names, Mr. and Mrs. Longfellow. Back to the movie, after another day's worth of travelling, they finally reach the palace, and they meet this guy Chatta Lal, played by Roshan Seth, who is the Prime Minister of Pankot, and he welcomed the heroes inside, who get ready for dinner where they will be joined by the Maharaja of Pankot, Zalim Singh, who is just a boy. Now the dinner starts, and while Indy's questioning the Prime Minister, Short Round and Willie go through some kind of racist food shenanigans. This film definitely hasn't aged well with the racist depiction of Indian culture, using it for laughs, and the use of blackface and the white saviour trope. The reason why Temple was filmed in Sri Lanka actually was because the Indian government saw the script as too offensive, and this film actually ended up getting banned in India. And after dinner, Indy and Willie do some flirting, kissing, but they decide to go to different rooms expecting the other to come to their room. But Indy gets attacked and he is getting beaten until Short Round, who has been asleep in the room the whole time, wakes up, gives Indy his whip, allowing Indy to win the fight. Behind the scenes of this fight, Harrison Ford suffered a herniated disc in his back, so he had to get spinal surgery. So during the rest of filming, stuntman Vic Armstrong took over Ford's stunts, and luckily they didn't really have to hide his face, because the two have a striking resemblance. Indy now enters Willie's room looking for assassins when he finds some potted plants shaking. It leads Indy to finding a secret entrance behind a pillar, and he grabs Short Round, and they traverse the secret tunnels, leaving Willie alone in her room. But now it's scary time, as Shorty sets off a trap, locking Indy and himself in a room, but everything's fine, until Shorty trips another trap, and as the ceiling begins slowly going down to crush them. Indy only has one hope, and that's Willie, of all people. Willie traverses the tunnels, screaming at every turn, and I think she actually gets mentally insane when she reaches the insects. When filming this scene, Kate Capshaw was covered in 2,000 insects and took sedatives before the scene to cool her fears. Willie finds the lever and pulls it, saving Indy and Short Round. Willie comes into the trap room, a screaming mess, and she bloody immediately sets off the trap again, but the heroes swiftly escape through a closing door. In some caves now, the heroes hear some chanting, which they follow to find a ritual going on, with the big bad guy at the center of it. This evil fucking kid. I mean this guy, Mola Ram, played by Amrish Puri, who is also from the hit movie Koila. But sadly, Puri did pass away in 2005. The cultists shackle this random guy. Mola Ram does some chanting, then reaches towards this guy's chest, digging in to grab at the heart. Miraculously, the guy's still alive, but then the cultists lower the hostage into some lava, which also burns his heart. The cultists now reveal the stone Indy is searching for, but wait, are my year 1 math classes deceiving me? 1, 2, 3. There are 3 stones. Whoa. Once the cultists leave, Indy does some parkour and gets to the stones. He just steals them simply enough, but then he hears some screaming, which he follows.
Where's he going?
Holy shit, jump scare. Shorty and Willie are captured while Indy finds your average Temu factory. And you see this man here. Well, that is Pat Roach, the guy who was Beefcake in Raiders. And you may be wondering, wow, why does he look so different? What skincare routine does he do? Well, kid, it's called blackface. Now, Indian Beefcake does some good old-fashioned whipping a child when Indy throws a rock at him, which gives away his position, and Indy is immediately captured 2 seconds later. Indy and Shorty are now caged with some kids who say that the evil of Kali will take them because the cultists will force people to drink the blood of Kali, which makes them into one of the cultists. Indy now gets dragged away and chained to a stone, and with the help of Beefcake, Mola Ram feeds Indy the blood of Kali Ma. But Indy ain't, stupid, so he just spits it out, causing Indy to get tortured through the voodoo powers and a whipping. And I just can't watch this scene without thinking of the dated but pretty funny behind the scenes video of Barbra Streisand whipping Harrison Ford, then Carrie Fisher and Irvin Kershner just show up. Back in the movie world though, Indy is once again fed the blood, and this time it is made sure he can spit out the blood, so he begins becoming a bit schizo, then cultish. Shorty is now forced to work in the Temu mines when he is making his escape, breaking his shackles and running to the ritual room, while another ritual is happening with Willie. They don't get her heart, they just lower her into the lava. But thankfully Shorty shows up, burning the cultists and stopping Willie from being lowered into the lava. Shorty then burns Indy, which gets Indy to wake up, allowing him to begin beating up cultists, while Short Round is just being Short Round. Indy begins lifting Willie out of the impending doom, and she is safely brought to the ritual site. Indy now collects the stones, then sparks an uprising among the Temu workers, who beat up the managers, but Indy has Beefcake to worry about. Indy is easily losing this fight. No help to this prick of a kid using his voodoo powers, but thankfully Short Round is here to save the day, and he beats this kid up, allowing Indy to get Beefcake smushed. Our heroes now escape to a minecart. Some cultists with guns are right on their hero's tail. They're quickly murdered, but there's always another minecart full of cultists who try to steal Short Round. And hey, Willie does something. Back in the mine, however, a big thing of water falls and it begins flooding the tunnels. And even worse news, this minecart's brake is broken, so Indy has to get out the minecart to brake manually with his toes, and he successfully stops the minecart. But now the flood appears. No, this water flood. But thankfully our heroes reach outside and cling onto the side of the cliff, which splits the trio up. Short Round and Willie run to a bridge with a bunch of alligators beneath. Ooh. Indy gets in some fights and running away from a whole lot of men. Indy makes it to the bridge that Short Round and Willie just finished crossing, but Ram and his goons are on the other side, so the two are just captured, while Indy's surrounded on the bridge. But to save Short and Willie, Indy threatens to throw the stones off the bridge. But Ram is just a chill guy, who figures he would find the stones anyway, so he sends his men forward. Ram now walks onto the bridge with Short Round and Willie, and Indy now gets an idea, and he tells his two friends to hang on, because they're about to go on a ride. Indiana now uses a sword to cut the ropes holding the bridge, splitting the bridge into two, killing most of Ram's men, and leaving Indy, Ram, Willie, Short Round, and two cultists hanging onto the bridge for their dear lives. Make that end one cultist. Indy gets in a vertical fight with Ram, who begins to use the power of Kali Ma and reach for Indy's heart, but Indy fights it off. They all continue climbing up. Ram kills his own cultist and orders his men on the other cliff edge to shoot arrows, but their aim is worse than the stormtrooper. Ram catches up to Short Round and Willie, who kick him until he falls next to Indy and they fight over the stones. Indy starts saying that Ram betrayed Shiva, and the stone began to glow, burning Indy's sack, and they begin falling into the river. Ram catches one, which burns his hand, making him fall down the chasm into the river, where he gets ripped up by the gators. And now the British have arrived, swiftly beating the cultists. Indy now climbs up the bridge, revealing he also saved one of the stones, which in the next scene he gives back to the village, as well as all the children. Now, Indy and Willie share a kiss. Never mind, they got wet, in a different way. Thank you, Short Round. Anyway, that's FilmSauce, Indiana Jones, and the Temple of Doom. Now it's time to go over the source points. I'll start off with what I like about this film, then move to dislike. I'd say the best part of this film is the relationship between Short Round and Indy. Just love those two. The action scenes are all great, and that bridge scene is peak. Yeah, now onto the negatives. And I don't mind the character of Willie, but I do agree that she can be annoying. Mola Ram's death feels disappointing to me, especially when compared to other villain deaths in the trilogy. Oh, and the biggest negative is probably the racism. My final verdict is I'm rating this film a 7.5 at the source points. A fun movie with problems. And okay, so that's the end. Like and subscribe so I can see you again sometime. Goodbye.